Hey guys, Kaiju here. Today we're going to be doing a Kaiju review, and that review, of course, is on the Y-MSF Final Wars Kamacurus. Now, this review is a big deal for a couple of reasons. For one thing, I have never reviewed or owned a Y-MSF figure before, and secondly, I've never reviewed or owned a Kamacurus figure either. That's because there is not a bunch of good Kamacurus figures out there. There isn't a ton of them that are in the 6-inch scale. To my knowledge, Bandai has only made one of them, and that is over the first Showa design, and I'm a much bigger fan of the Final Wars rendition, so I was really happy when Y-MSF announced they were going to make one. With that being said, I'll talk about why I'm so happy they made one in detail. She or he or it is just a massive bug, so they didn't really have a hard time trying to work with that. And yet still, there are a lot of details on here that I'm surprised they added. For example, they could have just made the wings a flat piece of vinyl, but instead they actually added detail on the outer wings as well. And the inner wings, of course, have that detail too. Overall, it's just a really nice detailed figure. I would say it's on the same level of Bandai, if not even a little higher. And that's a thing that Y-MSF commonly gets compared to because of the fact they both make, Sofubi figures, and of course they both make them over Kaiju specifically. So yeah, obvious comparisons. One thing I will say that they usually get better than Bandai is the paint, which on this figure is no exception. Everything is shadowed for the most part. The wings are not. They could have probably used a little bit of dry brushing. Compared to the Final War Zilla that Bandai just did, this looks significantly better. It's obvious why, this one is priced higher. It's because, they're actually making better quality figures. And that stands true not only in detail, but also articulation. So, of course, the arms can move. Sadly, they can't really go down. They're more or less going to go out to the sides like this. As shown earlier, Kamacurus can also rotate its head. Can spin it all the way around. These little mandibles up here are actually fairly sharp, by the way. If you do get this figure, be warned. Nothing else is sharp, just that for whatever reason is. The mid-torso can also rotate. The abdomen does not have any articulation, but the legs on the side do. So you can move all 4 of Kamacurus's legs, plus the large claws she has up here. So that in total is 8 points of articulation. That is pretty dang good for a bug, and I did not expect Kamacurus to have that much. And of course, let's get on to sizing now. I have a couple figures that I can put next to Kamacurus, one of which being Final Wars Anguirus from Bandai. Now these figures are about the exact same size. Kamacurus is a little bit shorter lengthwise, but overall, I would say Kamacurus presence-wise on your shelf is probably just going to be a little bit bigger. You can actually make it to where Kamacurus stands a tad bit taller than Anguirus as well, if I position her right. Yeah, now Kamacurus kind of looks a little bit more imposing over Anguirus. I did get Kamacurus with another figure as well, which is not at all related to Final Wars or Kamacurus whatsoever. It's not even an insect kaiju. It is actually the Ultraman Jack Monster Twin Tail. It's really random that I got an Ultraman kaiju alongside like a very highly sought after Y-MSF figure. I think that this is like kind of funny that I got such a random kaiju with it. And I might have to move Kamacurus a little bit back here because the next figure has a much greater presence even than Kamacurus. And that is Scaraeus from Titanic Creations. This is an original kaiju that I'll eventually review one day, but yeah, this is the only other insect kaiju I have that I thought would really go well next to it. And that is my review of the Y-MSF Kamacurus. Such a cool figure, honestly. It's one of the best ones I think I've ever reviewed. It's definitely one of my top 10 figures in my collection, not just because of the fact that it's new, but it's also just such a cool and underrated monster. I really like the Final Wars design, as I've said plenty of times throughout this video, and this figure represents it really, really well. It has a bunch of articulation, the detail is really solid, it's sized as well with other Bandai and other kaiju figures. I would say yes, it is worth it to get this figure. Thank you all for watching this review, and I'll see you all in the next one.